Hey there and welcome. So, if you're trying to build with AI inside a big company, you already know the feeling. It's chaotic, right? Well, today we're going to talk about the solution. It's this really powerful new architectural pattern called the LLM Mesh. Think of it as a blueprint for, finally taking back control and building AI that can actually scale, that's properly governed, and that's genuinely ready for what's next.
So let me ask you this. Is your Gen AI strategy, well, is it creating a total mess? If you're nodding your head right now, I promise you, you are not alone. It seems like for so many companies, that initial spark, that excitement about AI, it's just fading. And it's being replaced by this complex, super costly, and frankly risky tangle of tech that just doesn't talk to each other. And that right there is what we're calling the LLM mess. It's what happens almost every time when you try to scale up all those well-intentioned AI projects that you don't have a solid architectural foundation underneath them. You just end up with these ad hoc costs that just spiral out of control.
You know how this story goes, right? It almost always starts the same way. You build these amazing prototypes. They're fast, they're simple, they're exciting. But then you try to scale them across the whole enterprise. And that's when you hit the brutal reality check. Chaos, real risk, in this mountain of crippling technical debt. All that initial speed, it just grinds to a halt.
And the symptoms of this mess? Oh, they are painfully familiar. You've got teams hard-coding dependencies, which basically locks them into one specific model. Then you have security rules and cost-tracking logic just being copied and pasted into every single project. Without any central governance, forget about scaling securely or managing your budget. It's impossible. Each new app you launch just digs that technical debt hole a little bit deeper. Okay, so what's the fix? How do we get out of this mess? Well, there's a really elegant solution. It's an architectural blueprint called the LLM Mesh, and it was designed specifically to tame all this complexity and give us a clear path forward to AI that can actually scale.
So what is it really?
At its core, the LLM Mesh is a framework that separates or decouples your applications from the actual AI models they're using. And why is that so important? Because that separation creates this single, centralized infrastructure layer. It's one place where you can manage and govern everything. We're talking security, costs, access, you name it. It's all in one spot. You know, the folks at Dataco who pioneered this concept, they put it perfectly. They called the LLM Mesh the common backbone for generative AI, and that's exactly what it is. This isn't just another tool you buy. It's the fundamental structure, the skeleton, that holds up your entire AI ecosystem. And this whole mesh idea is built on three key pillars. First, you have an abstraction layer. This basically means you get one single, unified API to talk to any AI model you want. No more rewriting code for different vendors. Second, you have federated services. Think of these as your centralized guardrails. They enforce your rules for security, cost control, compliance, everything. And third, there's centralized discovery. This is a catalog, like a library, where developers can easily find and reuse AI components that already exist, instead of wasting time building the same thing over and over. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in practice? Let's get under the hood and deconstruct the key components that make up this engine of control.
Now, this is a really, really critical distinction. You might be thinking, wait, can't my existing API gateway just do this? And the answer is no, it really can't. See, a traditional gateway is what we call LLM agnostic. It just manages network traffic. It's totally blind to the content of that traffic, like the prompts or the tokens. It's solving a network problem. An AI gateway, on the other hand, is LLM aware. It actually understands the AI traffic, which lets it do incredibly important things like filter out personal information, perform semantic caching, and track costs right down to the token level. It's solving an AI governance problem.
So these AI-aware powers come from three core components working together. You've got the AI gateway. That's the data plane. It's the operational workhorse, the thing on the front lines intercepting all the traffic and enforcing the rules in real time. Then you have the control plane. This is the brain. It's the central dashboard where your admins actually define all the rules and policies for the mesh.
And finally, the catalog is your registry. It's the single, searchable source of truth for all your AI assets, models, prompts, tools, everything. And that separation between the brain and the workhorse, that's what's absolutely key to balancing tight control with fast innovation.
All right, we've walked through the architecture, but let's get to the most important part, right? The payoff. What's the so what? What's the actual business value that an LLM mesh delivers?
When you put the different approaches side by side, the advantage becomes crystal clear. Look, that direct integration approach, or even using a traditional API gateway, they just fall short on what an enterprise really needs. The LLM mesh, though, it delivers high performance across the board. We're talking top-notch AI-aware governance, real cost management, total flexibility to avoid vendor lock-in, and the kind of developer speed you need to actually innovate and scale. And the business value here is huge. Now, you might think it's all about saving money. And yeah, cost optimization is a big piece of the pie. But what's really interesting is that for many companies, the biggest value drivers are actually risk reduction, being able to enforce security and compliance centrally, and developer acceleration. It's about letting your teams build things faster and, just as importantly, safer.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Look at this number, 10x. That's the improvement in time to insights that the pharmaceutical giant Novartis reported after they implemented a mesh. 10 times faster. How? Because they could suddenly, safely, and quickly benchmark all these different models against each other, which just massively accelerated their research.
It's not just in pharma. The marketing firm System 1 found the exact same thing. A group product manager there put it so well. He said the mesh lets them identify, kill off, or graduate good or bad ideas at a much more rapid pace. Think about that. It's not just a piece of tech. It's a direct enabler for a culture of fast, efficient innovation. You can try more things and fail faster, which is how you find the winners.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. The story does not end here. The LLM mesh isn't just about fixing the problems you have today. It's about building the foundation for the next massive shift in artificial intelligence.
Because we are moving from a world where we just manage models to a world where we orchestrate intelligent, autonomous agents. And that, right there, is a fundamental, game-changing shift in how we're going to use AI in the enterprise.
So what exactly is an AI agent? Well, think of it as an autonomous system, something that can perceive its environment. It can reason, it can plan, and it can use a bunch of different tools to achieve a really complex goal, all with minimal human help. So imagine an agent that can handle an entire customer service ticket by itself, or automate a whole business workflow from start to finish. These systems are way more complex, and they absolutely require a much more sophisticated management layer to keep them in check. And this all leads to a natural evolution in how we manage our technology. We started with MLOps for traditional machine learning, then came LLMOps for large language models. But the future, where we're headed, is something called agent ops. This is a world where these autonomous agents, all governed by a mesh, don't just perform business tasks. They also help manage the very IT systems they run on. That is the ultimate vision of self-healing autonomous systems.
So when you bring it all together, the LLM mesh is so much more than a fix for today's chaos. It is the essential, enabling infrastructure for this coming autonomous future, which really just leaves one crucial question you have to ask yourself. Is your infrastructure ready for it? Thanks for tuning in.